All right, let's go ahead and get to this. This is really troubling and fits directly with what we've been focusing on here, which is that the role currently of the media and of the U.S. intelligence community in spawning and exacerbating some of the crisis that we began to see. And one of the most stunning things that has happened yet, some of you might have seen a viral image of a Ukrainian grandmother, 79 years old, who was training in order to resist the Russians. This was a piece that was done by NBC News. Let's take a listen.
Some communities are taking matters into their own hands. Just across from Russia, in the city of Mariupol, some Ukrainians are preparing. Basic training for the whole family, learning first aid to treat gunshot and shrapnel wounds, and weapons training. On a 7.62 caliber AK-47 is Valentina Konstantinovskaya. The 79-year-old is a retired accountant and a great-grandmother.
You're about my mother's age, and I can't picture my mother laying down on the concrete learning how to fire an assault rifle. Do you think you're going to actually be doing this?
Yes, if Putin comes, I should be able to shoot. The threat is very serious, she says, and I think every person in our country should be able to shoot from the window or on the street if the enemy comes.
And unfortunately, Krystal, that viral moment, it came out later that the group that was training those people were legit neo-Nazis. So let's go ahead and put that up there on the screen. Whoops. Which is that Ukraine far-right group offers training to civilians, and that the 79-year-old who said she was ready to defend her family was being trained herself by a neo-Nazi group in the city of Mariupol. Yes, the Azov Battalion. I'm probably saying that wrong. I apologize.
Well, and by the way, it wasn't hard to tell. I don't know if you noticed the patch that was on there.
Yeah, they had SS patches on the thing.
That's how you know.
They had like lightning SS patches.
Right. And I mean, by the way, this is important history too with this, group of far-right neo-Nazis, which is that originally when we had authorized funding, training and equipment to Ukrainians, there was originally a line in the bill that said, but not these guys. Mm-hmm. And then when nobody was looking, they're like, yeah, these guys too. So these are our allies there. Like these actual neo-Nazis, very upfront about their views, and they are just as important as you would expect. These are some of our allies there who we have been certainly arming. Very likely, it would be surprising if they weren't included in that CIA program that we brought to you, where we're bringing people here and we're training them in all sorts of, the things that we know how to do well. So, these are some of the people that we're supporting, and NBC just puts it up there like this heartwarming story of the tough grandma who's getting all trained up to combat the bad Russians.
Look, go grandma. It's not my country. But it's one of those things where when it's our dollars and our media who's holding this stuff up and painting a picture, they're not telling you the full story. This is the same thing happened in Syria, which is also, question this, do the rest of the Ukrainians want those people to be the ones who are in defense? Ask the Ukrainian government how they feels about those neo-Nazi groups. They don't like them. The rest of Ukrainian people, I bet they also don't even want to be associated with them. So we had the same problem in Syria. They're like, oh, well, they're fighting ISIS. Okay, but what else do they believe? And what, it's like, well, what else are they happening here on the ground? These are, again, questions which you have no insight into whatsoever, which a 1-minute soundbite from NBC News, which paints it all as black and white.
But us funding and training and equipping radical extremists, that never comes back to bite us, right, Saagar? That never happens.
Of course, right? And that's, it's like, and then, we don't even think about that and how that might look in the future. Here's the scary thing. What if those people do win? And also, you think the Russians wouldn't have a propaganda field day to be like, oh, we're fighting Nazism backed by the United States,
right?
And then, given what they call it, the Great Patriotic War, or World War II, and all that has so much salience in their own country. But at the same time, and I want to tie this to the U.S. intelligence because this is another story that we've been looking at very closely, which is that there's a blog called Zero Hedge. Now, look, I don't agree with Zero Hedge all the time. I actually think with their views on monetary policy and all that are completely wrong. But I believe in complete freedom of speech, especially whenever it comes to editorializing. If he publishes something false on this blog, then he can be sued for defamation, libel, and all that, as per the United States court system. But the U.S. intelligence community is doing one of the most cowardly and insane things I've ever seen, with the help of the mainstream media. Go ahead and put this up there on the screen. So, on Wednesday, the United States accused the financial website Zero Hedge of, quote, spreading Russian propaganda. Now, let's be very clear here. The U.S. intelligence officials briefed a bunch of reporters in the mainstream press on background and accused Zero Hedge of publishing Russian misinformation and propaganda. To be clear here, the U.S. intelligence community are not identified as to exactly which agency. They do not point to any specific article that Zero Hedge actually did. They are not putting their names to this accusation against the Zero Hedge website, and they are simply warning and accusing it anonymously through laundering of the mainstream press.
Yes.
The press does nothing except print U.S. accuses financial website of spreading Russian propaganda. They cover their bases by being like, Zero Hedge denies it. But once you have that out there, you are now branded on as literally a disinformation outlet.
Especially in this climate.
Especially in this climate. And just to emphasize this very clearly, so the U.S. brands Zero Hedge Russian propaganda. They don't give you any evidence. They don't tell you which agency has assessed this, to what extent. Was it an op-ed? Was it a post? Was it a tweet? Also, who is the U.S. Intelligence Committee, even frankly, to litigate any of that? But that's another question. And then what happens, let's put this up there on the screen, which is that when you go on Twitter, I've pointed this out, and you click on a zerohedge.com link, Twitter is placing a warning on all links on Zero Hedge and gives no reason as to why, simply saying that some of the content on that website may violate Twitter's terms of service.
Yeah.
Now, here's the thing. If it's not on Twitter, why do you care? You have no business litigating that. Like I said, if Zero Hedge publishes something which is false, defamatory, or libelous, you can sue them in a U.S. court and you can prevail. However, we have strong free press convictions and defenses in the United States specifically for this reason. But you are seeing the fusion here of the government, the U.S. intelligence community, with no evidence, can simply accuse you of being a Russian propaganda outlet, and then Twitter, a private company, just making it so that you are getting warnings and labels placed on your links. Now, to be fair to Zero Hedge, or to be fair, Twitter has placed this warning intermittently on Zero Hedge links for some time. But Zero Hedge was actually the account, Krystal, which was banned for floating the lab leak theory in February of 2020 and was kept off of the platform for 6 or plus months. So this is already an outlet which has published a theory, which, by the way, looks predominantly to be true 2 years later, was taken off and deplatformed for this specific reason, and now being directly targeted by the U.S. intelligence community and essentially being censored by a private outlet. Like I said, I don't agree with the guy all the time whenever it comes to monetary policy, but that is far beyond the point.
Irrelevant.
I'm not being like, oh, I'm accusing Zero Hedge of spreading financial misinformation. I'm not saying that. I think he has a right to say and to publish whatever he wants on his blog.
This should be seen as part of a larger propaganda effort that we've been tracking around these, potential Russian hostilities in Ukraine, potential Russian invasion of Ukraine, because the line consistently from mainstream press, from lots of blue checks on Twitter, and directly from the administration is, hey, if you question us, we don't know what your motives are.
Right. That's right.
If you question us, maybe it's because you're a useful idiot. Maybe it's because you're a Kremlin propagandist. I mean, that's what we saw. That was the insinuation in that extraordinary exchange we played you with Ned Price, which was like, listen, we don't have to give you evidence, and you just have to take it and accept it. And if you don't, I'm not sure that you're a patriot. I'm not sure that you really, are standing for American values. Some of the things that Zero Hedge was publishing with regards to Russia and Ukraine were pretty similar to some of the things we've been saying on this show.
That's right.
Questioning the media narrative about just how imminent this invasion was, questioning the media narrative in terms of, failing to help people understand what Russia's position in all of this was. And so that's why this is very troubling stuff. And like you said, the fusion between intelligence agencies, and then their use of the mainstream press, and then the Biden administration, and then you have these tech giants who are only happy to serve power. And we're going to show you in a moment the way that they also apply their rules extraordinarily selectively. Yeah, this is deeply troubling, especially in a climate where, people are routinely smeared. It's this McCarthyite smearing, red baiting smearing of, oh, you're really doing the duty, doing the bidding of Putin, you're Putin's puppet, all of that stuff. Now that this label has been given to Zero Hedge, anything they publish or print from now on, there's a whole group of people who will just automatically dismiss it.
Yeah.
Even though on some things they have been right when the mainstream media has been wrong. And it's also really noteworthy, and this is why we put these two things together. Is NBC News going to face any repercussions or
they spread
accountability
neo-Nazi propaganda
for their neo-Nazi propaganda? No, they're not. They're not going to be censored. They're not going to have a label put on them on Twitter or anything like that. They're not going to be, called Nazi propagandists.
And you know
none
what,
of it.
Krystal, they shouldn't be censored. Are we calling for that here? No.
Of course not.
We are doing what you're supposed to do. They published something dumb without context and got caught, and we are exposing it here on our show. You choose what you would like to consume, and in the long run, who you think is more trustworthy. If you choose them, well, I don't really get it, but that's on you. And this is the thing. In a free society, you cannot allow this fusion of state and tech in order to censor whatever they deem misinformation. That is straight up police state. Look, I am as big of a critic as there is when it comes to the fusion of woke ideology and big tech. And that's a whole other conversation. But when it comes to the actual United States government accusing you of private website and outlet of spreading propaganda with no evidence, with no citations, and anonymously laundered through the press, and then actions being taken against them, again, with no specific violation of a term of service that is even specified, that's straight up, I mean, I don't know what else. That is a 1984 Orwellian type behavior. And you're right. Look, our show is doing very well right now. I'm not going to lie. It's great on YouTube, Spotify, all of that. All it takes is one person in the U.S. intelligence community to leak that Breaking Points, which as of this morning is a top political podcast on Spotify in the United States, is spreading Russian disinformation.
Yeah.
Boom, we're dead. Dead.
Mm-hmm. They don't have to offer any evidence. Yeah. They don't have to back it up with anything. Right. They can just say it. Some lackey in the mainstream press will undoubtedly
Bloomberg will print it as they did.
Print it.
Yeah.
They'll include our denial, but nobody will care. And there you go.
And then what's YouTube going to do? They're going to be like, oh my God, well, we can't be complicit in spreading Russian disinformation. Boom, you're done. I mean, this is, you think I'm exaggerating. It can happen this quickly. We set up our business to make sure that it's financially, at least, we could be okay.
Yeah.
But that's not the point. The point is that all of us out here are vulnerable to actions like this. And didn't we used to understand this? When the Bush administration accused the New York Times, and when George W. Bush looked the editor of the New York Times in the face and said, by publishing this top secret NSA program, you will be responsible for deaths. And he was like, the editors were like, I'm sorry, we're going to publish it.
Yeah.
He did the right thing.
Yes.
That is what it used to look like. You look the intel community and the people in the face, and you say, you know what? I got the info. Screw you. I'm publishing. It's up to the public to litigate and to decide. And this is just something where with the fusion of now the intelligence community and a sympathetic media, because of Russiagate, because of a lot of different reasons, as long as you're on the right side of disinformation, you're fine.
Yes.
Then, we are seeing one of the most dangerous and censorious environments in a very long time. I truly despair when I see this. And I know a lot of people out there, oh, you're defending Zero Hedge. Just like with Assange, it's not about Zero Hedge. It's not even about him. It's about the precedent and the principles that are being set in an economy and in a world where millions of people now, more so than the mainstream media, get their news on the internet. And in that, we can't allow the U.S. intelligence community to litigate this. We simply can't, or we have long ago sailed off into, into a new age and a new land.
Hey guys, thanks so much for watching.
That's right. Just as a reminder, you can become a premium subscriber today. Watch the full show completely uncut, our reactions to each other's monologues. You get to listen to it. You get to ask us questions, all that good stuff. Link is right there in the description or at breakingpoints.com.
Best of all, great way to say screw you to the mainstream media.